Welcome to Relate Higher, a podcast dedicated to providing the leading standard in conscious higher relating and to teaching you a conscious framework for all of your relationships. This is your go-to resource for developing meaningful, conscious relationships across your life. I'm your host, award-winning relationship coach and consultant and former family lawyer, Letitia Ringe. I'm so glad you're here. Welcome back to the podcast, everyone. In today's episode, we are talking about understanding what you need and desire in relationships. Now, this is in your friendships, relationships with family members, professional relationships, and of course, a relationship with a romantic partner. It is so important that you understand what you need and desire. This is important because then you can, first of all, select people who have the capacity and desire to meet those needs and desires that can only be met within a relationship. And secondly, so that you can actually consciously communicate with people what your needs and desires are, and importantly, how one actually fulfills those. Now, in the context of your relationship with yourself, which is actually what this episode is all about, it's so important to understand what you need and desire in relationship as well. This is because you, first of all, will be able to support yourself and meet your own needs and desires within relationships to a certain degree where only you need to meet those needs and desires. Secondly, if you don't understand what your needs and desires are, and you also don't understand specifically how to practically meet those needs and desires because you've got no experience of meeting them yourself, you will have no idea how to select people who can actually support those needs and desires. And secondly, you will have no idea how to consciously communicate and ask for those needs and desires to be fulfilled. So when it comes to creating and cultivating a conscious relationship with yourself, which is what this series on the podcast is all about, you must know what you need and desire in your relationships. And then you need to also have a look at how you can meet those needs and desires yourself within your relationships and, of course, within your relationship with yourself. This is so that you have the information to use to choose people who actually have the capacity and desire to meet those needs and desires, and so you can also consciously communicate those needs and desires. One of the number one reasons that we have difficulty understanding what we need and desire in a relationship, I believe, is because of the way we as people have programmed our brains to focus on what we don't want to experience. Most people are spending so much of their time, energy, focused, and attention focusing on what they don't want to create in their life. For instance, you probably could very quickly tell me all of the things that frustrate you about your parents, your brothers and sisters, if you have them, your friends, your professional colleagues, and if you're in a romantic relationship right now, your romantic partner. People tend to have an easier time at telling me as a relationship coach what they are frustrated about, what their challenges are in relation to these people in their life, but then they find it very difficult to tell me what the actual solution is, i.e., what do they actually want instead, which is all about your needs and desires. Now, this is not just in the context of relationships, this is in the context of every aspect of a person's life. Most people are focused on the problem rather than the solution. So the first thing I want you to think about today is stopping this as best as you can. Notice and accept that this is how your brain has been programmed, unconsciously or consciously. And from this day forward, you want to bring your conscious attention as best as you can to readjusting your focus and the program so that every single time you notice a problem or you notice something you're frustrated about or you notice something that is challenging you, especially about another person, I want you to ask yourself, what do I want to create here instead? This is a very powerful question. Now, this brings me to the second reason it's so difficult for most humans to understand what they want and need generally, and also within relationships. The second reason is that most of us are looking for answers about what we should want or should need based on what we see in the world around us. We will look at what other people are telling us they want and need. We will look at what we think is socially acceptable. And then instead of getting those answers from within us and also through experience, we instead try to either filter our wants and needs, or we simply look at what other people are asking for and decide that's acceptable, I can ask for that, when that's not actually what we as unique individuals want and need. And finally, we don't allow our wants and needs to change and evolve over time. You are a growing human. You're expanding in so many ways. You're changing, you're evolving, you're experiencing new experiences. This means what you need to support yourself along your life journey as well as in your relationships will change. So not only are most people not checking inside themselves to get the answers to what they need and desire, but then they're not checking in regularly enough. So the second action point for today's episode is to make sure you take very regular moments to tune in and ask yourself, what do I want or what do I need to create here? This will allow you to start accessing that information that is inside you. Now let's talk about a deeper issue. One of the reasons we look to others for our answers as to what is socially acceptable is because we have been programmed to believe that our needs and desires are too much. That when we're asking for something we need or desire, we're taking something from someone else. This comes from a lens of scarcity and fear, which is the opposite of the way we want to live our life. We want to live from a place of love and abundance. Abundance means that it doesn't matter what you take from the pool, there's always more available. But the way we have been programmed as a society and as humans is to believe that if I take from this limited pool, then I'm taking that away from everyone else. But the truth is, when you are supporting yourself to thrive in life with what you need and desire, you're bringing all of that energy, all of that great energy, this excess of energy, this energy of generosity to the table. When you instead are not asking for what you want and need, and you're not supporting yourself with what you want and need, you're going to be operating at a much lower capacity in your life, which means the amount of energy you bring to the table is not what it could be. So when you support yourself, you bring more to the table, which gives more to everyone. And that's because you've given yourself what you need in order to show up for that job, which in this case is living your life and being in relationship. So actually, the more we support ourselves, the more support we have for everyone else. And this is what we call an abundance mindset. All that's required to go from the scarcity mindset to the abundance mindset is simply reprogramming your brain so that the way you look at the world around you is programmed to look at it from a place of abundance and love instead of from a place of scarcity and fear. It just takes practice, but you will be amazed by how much in your life opens up when you do this. So the natural flow-on effect from looking at our needs and desires from a place of scarcity is that we then tend to filter our needs and desires as to what's socially acceptable, what we think we can get, rather than seeing your needs and desires as neutral. Here are some questions I want you just to reflect on. What if your needs and desires were completely neutral? What if your needs and desires were actually intentionally given to you so that you could be connected with people in your life in the highest way possible? What if your needs and desires were actually perfect? There was nothing wrong with them. They were all given to you intentionally. This is the way I want you to think about your needs and desires, and you can actually apply this same idea to your gifts, your personality, your life goals, your life intentions. Because what is behind this way of looking at your needs, desires, your gifts, your character, your personality, your life goals, your intentions is this. You were put on this planet uniquely designed as you are. Your desires, your needs are what allow you to be connected with other people and allow you to serve other people and be served by other people. This allows you to move through your life being supported so that you're thriving and then able to show up in the highest way you can. This also allows you to be connected with the people that you're here to be connected with through this life. So every time we honor a need, every time we notice, hey, I can meet my need to this degree, but from here, I'm going to need someone to help me meet it. Every time we notice, hey, this is a desire I have, so I'm going to move towards it. I'm going to open myself up to something new. This is allowing new people, new experiences, and opportunities for connection to come into your life. If we didn't have any needs or desires, if we also didn't embrace our gifts, our personality, our character, our life goals, and our intentions, then we wouldn't show up for the path that is calling us. We cut ourselves off from connections. We cut ourselves off from serving and being of service and being served by others. We would just be isolated and stay alone, and then we'd wither like a plant who isn't given the nutrients needed to thrive so that that plant can be enjoyed by all the people who get to use it or just simply look at it and appreciate its beauty. You're a plant. You're part of nature. You have very neutral things that you need and desire, and this is what allows you to create the masterpiece that is your life. So we want to look at our needs and desires as, at a minimum, completely neutral, and even better, they are perfect. You've been intentionally designed this way. Just notice how your relationship with your needs and desires would be different if you looked at them through that lens rather than through the lens most of us are looking at our needs and desires from, which is that they are a problem, or there's something wrong with them, or they're too much. No, we need to embrace our needs and desires in order to have them met so that we can thrive, so that we can be of highest service in the world, so that we can be of highest energy in the world, and so that we can be connected to the people we're meant to connect with in this life. Now, you'll also remember earlier on in the podcast, I spoke about your intentional relationship ecosystem and the fact that your needs and desires in relationships will be met by an ecosystem, a community of people, rather than just one specific person. So when you think about your needs and desires, it's not that you're going to expect all the people who are currently in your life, or even one person or some people in your life, to meet all of those needs and desires. You will meet the needs and desires as best as you can first. Then you'll be looking for people who have the capacity and also the happiness and desire to meet specific needs and desires. So for instance, if you have a desire to share a particular interest with people that you know, instead of expecting the people already in your life who may not share that desire with you, that is an opportunity for new connection. So you're going to go out, perhaps it's acting. So now you're going to go out to an acting school or acting class or improv class or theater, who knows? And there you're going to connect with other people who can meet that desire with you. Perhaps you have a need to be seen and heard, and you want that to be in an impartial space. Okay, so your friends, your family members, even your professional network, perhaps even your romantic partner cannot meet that space for you. So that need might be met through a therapist, through a coach, through a counselor, through a healer, someone else in your life who is able, has the capacity and also the desire to meet that need. So we then are able to create an ecosystem that supports all of our needs and desires in the way that we need people in our life to meet those needs and desires. This ecosystem will change and evolve over time, but the premise is that the ecosystem is what supports you relationally. And in order to create that, you have to first know what your needs and desires are, so you can't be judging them, otherwise you won't see them. And secondly, you need to know how to meet your own needs and desires so that you actually know what to be looking for and how to communicate that to other people. Most people have zero idea how to have their needs and desires specifically and practically met, and that is a huge part of the problem in relationships. So an exercise that I give almost every single person that I work with is this: write down all of your frustrations about your romantic partner or about your friends or about your family members or about your professional network. And then I want you to ask yourself, what do I actually want to experience here? This is where usually you flip the frustration on its head to access what you actually need and or desire. Now, you want to go a step further and then ask, practically, how could this desire or need be met? And what I mean here is that you want to say things like, I want my romantic partner to tell me every single day that they love me. Or perhaps what you need is more connection in your friendships. And when you ask yourself specifically, what does that mean? Practically, what does that mean? What you then become aware of is you actually want your friends to check in with you once per week in order to meet that need. The need is for connection, and practically what you want is a message from them asking how you are. That would allow you to feel that that need for connection is actually being met. Now, if you're not aware that actually what you're wanting when you're feeling frustrated with your friends and the frustration is that they never contact you or that you feel disconnected or you don't feel close to them, if you don't explore what the solution is, i.e. the actual need or desire, then you don't know that what you're actually needing and desiring here is connection. When you don't know that what you need and desire is connection, you then do not know practically how to fulfill it. When you turn your mind to practically how to fulfill that need for connection, you're then met with, actually, it's just a text message once a week asking how I am. This means that you can then go to your friends and say, hey, I'd so love it if you could message me once a week and just check in with me to ask how I am. I've been noticing I've been feeling more disconnected, and I realize that what I'm really craving from you is more connection. And this is one way that I would really love that need to be met. Is there anything that you're really desiring or needing from me? What a beautiful conversation, but most of us would never even know that what we actually want is the connection. And secondly, even fewer people would know specifically what it is they actually want to meet that particular need or desire. And then even fewer people would go to that next step of actually communicating that need or desire with the other person. So this is how we get our needs and desires met. It is through shifting from focusing on the problem to the solution, and then getting really specific and practical about how we could actually have that need or desire met, and then communicating that with the other people in our life. But remember, first, you need to meet your own needs and desires. So it's really good to ask yourself, well, how practically could I meet my own desire for connection with my friends? Maybe I need to reach out to them more. Maybe I need to ask them how they're going more. Maybe I need to be asking this question of myself more, right? Okay, two last things on the topic of needs and desires, and then I'm going to give you some self-reflection questions so that you can go deeper into this subject. Firstly, on the topic of needs. Now, one thing with needs is that often we look at needs as what we need to survive. I don't want you to look at your needs in that way, because that's why they feel so heavy. So many people think that what you need is actually a weakness because you shouldn't need anything at all. But actually, true power is recognizing what you need and then being able to support yourself with those needs, and in relationships, actually ask for them. Now, it feels so heavy because you see it as a weakness, and also because you're looking at it through the lens of what I need just to get by or to survive. Instead, you want to look at your needs through the lens of thriving. What do I need to thrive, not survive? So just like every day you need a certain amount of water so that you don't dehydrate and die. That would be a survival way to look at it. When I look at my water intake through that lens, that suddenly feels very heavy. Instead, if I ask myself, what do I need to thrive so that I can have the most amount of energy, so that I can operate in my life to the highest level, so that I can bring all of that beautiful energy to my relationships, suddenly I'm more interested. This is more interesting. How much water do I need to thrive? This is where I know I probably need somewhere between 2 to 3 liters of water per day. Don't quote me on that, but that's how I understand how much water we need. And now I'm setting myself up to actually be supported to be in my highest energy rather than just getting by. It's not actually what is going to have you functioning to your highest capacity in your life or in your relationships. So that's the topic of need. Look at what you need to thrive rather than what you need to survive. Now on the subject of desire. So sometimes desire can be felt to be a little bit lighter than need because it's a desire, it's something we want rather than something we need. However, desire has some of its own challenges, which can also lead to a heaviness. The two I'll talk about here are the following. The first is sometimes we see our desires as dirty. Now, this could be from religious programming, which is actually talking about something different. So in a religious context, and don't quote me across all of the religions, but generally, when the term desire is being used, it's been spoken about through a lens of when you're desiring something that is in excess, right? Where you're being greedy or where you're taking something from someone else to overpower them in some way and go against their will, that kind of desire. We're not talking about the desire that comes from that love, abundant, wise part of you. Secondly, sometimes desire can feel really heavy because you're attached to attaining the outcome of that desire. The way I want you to think about desires instead is as follows. The point of your desires is not always to attain them. The point is for the desire to guide you on the path that you're meant to go on. So you always want to ask yourself, what is the desire here? And what is the next step that I should take toward that desire? Now, you're always getting this information from inside you, from that wise, intuitive part of yourself. And when you ask this, it's going to reveal the next step you take. Now, along your journey of life, you will realize along the way what the desire really is. So a question you can ask right from the beginning to get an expanded view of your desire so that you're not limited by that outcome you think you really need to get in order for that desire to be worthy. I want you to ask yourself, why do I want that desire? Here's an example. Suppose I have a desire to date someone gorgeous and I've got a specific image in my mind. I can really see the person and that gets me really excited. Then when I ask myself, why do I want to date this person? I might reveal the answer because I want to share my life with them. Now, this desire gets me excited enough and open enough to go out and start dating people. And along the way, what I'm actually looking for is someone that I feel I could share my life with. So I'm not actually looking to create a relationship with the sexiest person I could imagine or the person who even looks like this visual I have. Instead, I know that the deeper desire is to share my life with someone. And so when I meet someone that I feel, hey, I could really share my life with you. We feel like we have good chemistry, compatibility, aligned values, all of the things that allow me to feel like I can be myself around you and live my life with you by my side. That's the deeper desire. Now, as I get out in the world and I'm dating and maybe I meet someone like this, perhaps even I realize, whoa, actually, the person that I want to share my life with is me. I don't know, or maybe it's a group of friends that I meet along the way. And then I realized, actually, I want to have this group of friends and I want to share my life with a romantic partner. And the desire initially, which was this gorgeous person that I was thinking of, was actually just leading me to this understanding that there was this group of people out there for me to spend and share my life with, as well as this person and whatever else that is revealed along the way. And then maybe that desire turns into wanting something more, and that's just going to keep guiding me. But I'm going to keep asking why, what's the deeper reason behind that desire, and I'm going to remain unattached to the outcome, because I know the point is not to attain the desire. The point is where that desire is leading me. This removes all of the attachment and heaviness that can be associated with desire. And in the first case, in the instance of it feeling dirty, I want you to know that as long as you're tuning within and you're coming from that place of love and abundance, tuning into your intuition, you will never be led astray. Your intuition is always coming from a place of love and abundance, which is in opposition to that place of scarcity and fear, which is where bad decisions can come from, and where those desires for more greed and power also arise from. It doesn't come from love and abundance, it comes from fear and scarcity. Okay, so to wrap up today's episode, I'm going to share with you some further questions that you can use to get clear on what you need and desire in your relationships. And remember, you can use this as well for the rest of your life. What do I need to thrive in a relationship? Specifically, how can these needs be fulfilled by me and by others? What do I desire in my relationships? Why do I desire this? What is my next step toward that desire? What if every single one of these needs and desires was perfect? And finally, what opportunities for connection are created through these needs and desires? All right, my beautiful friends, now if you want support as you bring to life what you need and desire in your relationships, I ask you to check out my Conscious Relationship Coaching Program. This is my private coaching program where I support individuals and couples as well as singles as you step into a romantic relationship or improve a current romantic relationship that you're in right now that allows you to feel deeply fulfilled. You can find out all the information at relatehigher.com/CRCP. I'll see you in the next episode. Thank you for listening to Relate Higher, your go-to resource for learning how to consciously approach all of your relationships. To deepen your learning and practice, make sure you're subscribed to receive the Relate Higher community newsletter. This is a weekly newsletter sent to you every Monday, providing further coaching and education to support your relationships. Subscribe at relatehigher.com/community. And if you haven't yet left a 5-star review for the podcast, we ask that you please do that now so that this podcast can reach other listeners who also want to learn and practice conscious higher relating. Because remember, the more people who learn, the better relationships we all enjoy.